TimeRust.com proudly presents the Time Rust Brain Trust.
Hey everybody, and welcome to the Time Rust Brain Trust podcast. End of the year awards edition. If you don't know who we are by now, go listen to the other podcasts. Because right now, we're going to hand out some awards.
This is the air horn.
Actually, we're going to do quick introductions, because why not? Okay, to my left is Eli.
What's up?
To his left is Steve.
How's it going, guys?
To his left is Marquise.
What it is, folks.
And to his left is me, Nathan MC.
MC Nathan!
And now we're going to get into the thick of it. Our first category.
Tabletop and PC, or tabletop and collectible card game.
Yeah, you're thinking CCG.
Yeah.
But you said PC.
Yeah.
That's wrong.
I do
CCG.
TCG.
Tabletop and CCG.
CGI.
I have one item to contribute to this.
NBC,
Let me hear your one
XYZ.
item. I'm interested.
Doesn't matter how you spell jabroni.
I have one item.
Wow.
I have one item. It is a collectible card game.
Pokemon?
It is Hearthstone's Heroes of Warcraft.
Oh, you're going digital.
Yeah.
Oh!
Hearthstone Heroes of Warcraft.
That's a pretty good one. I'm not going to lie.
That's a fantastic card game.
Fantastic card game.
Hey, you think
You buy packs of cards. Technically, it counts.
That is true.
With real money.
If you think about it, you could also include things like all the games on my droid, like Transformers, G.I. Joe.
Oh, yeah.
But they're
free to play, the same
Oh,
type
that's
of
right.
model.
But I'm not a fan of the pay to win, which is exactly what they are.
Well, that one is. The Warcraft one is not,
the
because
Warcraft
you can...
one is different.
Yeah.
The Warcraft one is very different. It acts exactly like a real, standard.
Yeah. You
TCG.
buy cards, you get random cards. You put random cards in your deck.
CCG,
strategically.
it's good, and then you can play other people over the interweb. You don't have to worry about going to conventions or finding that one friend on your block that has way more money than you and buys way more cards.
Yep. It's
You know who you are.
tons of fun.
Yeah,
Don't be pointing at me. I don't do that.
Those people make me not like to play collectible card games.
Yep.
I had someone in a couple friends at college that would give plasma to buy specific cards off the internet to make their ridiculous Magic decks, and then I was just like, done.
Not fun anymore.
Not fun anymore is when you always lose, because you're like, I got this flying, swamp walking, crazy vampiric dragon monster, blah blah blah, and he's like, banished, done. I'm like, go get a soda from the machine.
Yep.
All right, Steve. So, what do you have?
I have. I could go on more than 5, but I've got my top 5. They're not any specific order, but first of all, I'm going to go on about Pathfinder, the Pazio Publishing continuation. It's essentially Dungeons & Dragons 3.7. It's written in the world of Gorlon. They created their whole world, and a bunch of the people that liked 3.5 got together when Wizards of the Coast was like, let's make 4.0 D&D. And they all looked at it, Monty Cook and all these people, they looked at it and thought it was awful. So they decided to make Pathfinder as a tabletop game. They've brought out not only have they brought out multiple modules and adventure paths for a lot of things, they have brought out several solid products that weren't, because the main problem with Wizards of the Coast, they brought out that we created a term from them from the gaming industry called splat books, which is just a book that they bring out that's like, hey, it's a book, it's $30, it's got a couple class options and a bunch of feats, and that's what it was, and it was just worthless. So, but Pazio, all their product is worth buying and actually looking at. I bought a Mythic Adventures book. I bought several of these things. So I included Pathfinder as one inclusive slot on my pick.
Excellent.
It's
I know you've spent a lot of time with Pathfinder.
Yeah, it's well written. It's well done. I mean, my friends and I are getting ready to do a Diesel Punk Pathfinder game over the internet.
Oh my gosh.
I'm playing a Warforged robot paladin, which is essentially a a sentient robot, RoboCop type guy. It's amazing.
Does it all take place in Germany?
It takes place during and after World War II. We're a paramilitary group. We've got a character that's a orc barbarian that uses a chain gun. We've got someone wanting to play the Rocketeer, which would eventually evolve into a diesel punk Iron Man. My friend Trey is playing an alchemist that's a German defector that was working on human reanimation for the purposes of super soldiers.
It is sadly better than anything I've ever heard come from any board game ever.
Yeah, I mean, Pathfinder is so versatile, which is what's so good about it. Like, I can take the classes that they made, that they improved upon, and I made I know there's a Warcraft tabletop game that already exists, but I made one I wrote up one from the Pathfinder stuff and the rules that was all cleaned up, and it makes more sense. It's not as loose and ridiculous. I mean, they've got classes that you don't need to multi-class. Let's say you have a character idea when you're like, man, I want to play an Indiana Jones character. So you want to play a bard that's an archaeologist, and you need some hand-to-hand fighting because he punches all the Germans in the face. So you want to take some monks. You don't have to do that. They've got classes that you can do that have these ideas that you can take all the way up to max level if you ever play a game long enough to get max level. Anyway, so another game that I like a lot from Jackson Gaming is the Munchkin card game. It's basically taking tropes and making parodies of tabletop and fantasy games and stuff like that. Munchkin has several things out. They've got Munchkins in Space. They've got Cthulhu Munchkin. They've got Pathfinder. They recently brought out, which is what I stood in line for 3.5 hours at Gen Con in Indy for the Pathfinder Munchkin set, which is awesome. And it's just an all-around good card game where you sit around with 4 to 6 of your friends, and the whole point is to beat the other players. So it's a card game that all 4 of you are fighting each other, but you can team up with one another. And it works out really well. It's a good party game. I laugh. And when you just make someone draws a card, and they pull a monster from the deck, and they're like, "Oh, I got this."
It's really silly.
Yeah, you're like, "I got this. I'm going to use this and this and this against it." And then someone from the thing is like, "Well, I'm going to add 10 levels to that monster, and I'm going to do this to it." And then another friend, because they don't want this guy to get all this loot and stuff, will screw with that. So there's times when all 4 or 5 of us were playing on the same battle to see who could win or lose, and it was a lot of fun. So Munchkin I've got a lot of hours logged on Munchkin. It's a lot of fun. A card game that I recently came across this year that I've really enjoyed is Cards Against Humanity.
Yes!
That is one of the greatest card games I have ever played. It is
so
the most
ludicrous,
ridiculous, inappropriate, and it's amazing. I mean, there's the card czar, and one person draws a card, and it has a phrase on it. And a blank, and some have 2 to 3 phrases, and basically the other players draw their cards that they want to finish that sentence with, and they hand it to the person that drew the card first. And then he mixes them up, so he doesn't know exactly who they came from, and then he reads off the way they finished the phrase, and the person he thinks finished it best, he picks that card, and then that person gets a point. So
very simple premise.
It's simple premise, and it's hilarious.
It's similar to Apples to Apples.
Yeah, it's Apples to Apples for adults.
Yeah,
and when and what we've basically found out is that depending on who's picking the card and reading the phrase, you kind of want to
you got to take their sense
them,
of humor into
because some of them are just. Sometimes you got nothing and you just throw nothing at them, but it ends up, I've played hours of that game, and I will always want to play that game.
It's so unpredictable.
I played it on my birthday. I mean, I think one of the things that I've never found that could fail, that I've never lost a hand with, was Mecha Hitler.
He probably makes everything pretty hilarious.
Yeah, one was the newest. I think the one I won my last game with was a new show coming this fall. It was Mecha Hitler, and then it was a 2-1. It was blank as blank. It was Mecha Hitler as a rogue cop with nothing left to lose type stuff. It was awesome. And so I got Cards Against Humanity, and another thing I've logged another several hours in is the World of Darkness. The whole inclusive thing. I've done Werewolf, I've done Mage, I've done Changeling, I've done Vampire. I've done a lot of work with Vampire. I wrote up a H.P. Lovecraft vampire game that we're going to get back into now that Justin, for a couple weeks, now that Justin's not going to be in college for 3 weeks. Anyway, I'm not bitter. I didn't do all this prep work for nothing, I hope. So that game's on there. But the one game that I played that surprised me the most, that I've loved the most so far, is the Firefly tabletop game. It by far surpassed my expectations. It's not just a simple game where you're trying to win. I mean, there's winning objectives where you play, you get your ship, you go to the different ports, you hire your crew, you pick up your items and weapons, you do your jobs. So it's basically, you get a ship and a captain at first part of the game, and then you fly your ship, you do your jobs, and you have requirements to fulfill certain things, and you make your money, and you can literally just say, I don't want to finish this game, and you can just literally just keep going all over and over. We played that game for 4 hours, and we all just started doing jobs and flying around. You can do all kinds of things, and there's literally a way that it has rules where you can play by yourself, where you have,
which is awesome. Anytime there's like a tabletop game or anything like that you can sit it down and just like mess around with by yourself.
Oh yeah,
it's a lot of fun.
It's a board game that I've really enjoyed. So it's like that. Those are the ones that I've played the most this year. The ones that I've put the most time into. I mean, it's a little bit daunting to read all the rules at first with Firefly, but once you get into it, it's a lot of fun. You know, you get people. There's a card, a deck that you pull from when you do certain things. It's called Aim to Misbehave, and that's the things where you're doing crazy stuff. And like you always have one or two options to pick from. So like after you pick your captain, there's like one captain. I got the Big Damn Heroes edition, which it added a bunch of the characters from the show that were upgraded on their cards, and they get a special thing that when they do Aim to Misbehave cards, you get an extra 100 credits. So you want to I had Kaylee and Wash in my team because Kaylee's an amazing mechanic and Wash is a great pilot, and every time I went through the Aim to Misbehave, I got an extra 200 credits. So I racked up so much money, you know, and it's a lot of fun. Like there's a play mode we went through where we had to the actual crown jewels of England from Earth that were on display in the core worlds, and you had to go to this one planet and you had to take all this money and do all this stuff to get in contact with this guy. And then the next stage of that, there's like 4 or 5 stages. And the next stage, you had to get forged documents to get to this one part. And then you actually had, the last stage was the heist, and you had to go to the core world and you had to heist, and then you had to get away from the bad guy, essentially the bad guys, but they're technically the good guys in that point because you're stealing from them. But so you had to go through like 4 or 5 really hard to do things to get the crown jewels of England, and they called it the shiny hat, which was pretty funny. And we didn't finish that part because we'd been there for 4 hours and everyone had to go home. So we just went with the person with the most money, and at that point I had like 15,000 credits, and I was the winner effectively. So
I just win.
It was good. I mean, the game, and since I went to Gen Con and got the Polybagged magazine, I have an extra game piece, which is a different ship, which I forget the name, but instead of it has 2 less cargo spaces, but it holds like two more passengers. So what it is, you can have a crew up to like 5 or 6 people at a time. This ship is the extra ship. It has 2 less slots for cargo, but you can carry 1 more crew member, and it's faster from the get-go. So it's actually like you can decide do you want to carry less cargo, or do you want and have more crew members and stuff, or do you want to be and be faster, or do you want to carry more stuff? And you can so it's a really inclusive game. It's easy to pick up after you get past the rules, and Stace and I played it a couple of times, just the 2 of us, just to mess around and waste some time.
That's awesome.
Yeah, I'll whenever we have,
we can play some Firefly.
Yeah, pretty much. So I can't
taking on the outer realms, taking on the core world.
If I had to pick from that core pack, judged by the most enjoyment I've got out of it, I mean, Pathfinder might be most ahead, but it's really hard to choose. So I'm not really sure.
So we decided on 5 for that category.
Mm-hmm.
We have 6.
Actually, I also want to throw out a special love
Which
nod to zombies. just because.
Zombies.
Zombies.
Yes. Okay, so that's
Zombies
yours.
is good.
Okay, so we have
Just-
7.
I wanted to just throw that out there. I was like, oh yeah, zombies.
Yeah, Zombies is really good.
Zombies is super fun.
Yeah,
Zombies is-
we always have a good time when
It's,
we play
it's
that.
an older game, but I thought since we're tossing out some older games,
Yeah.
even
Munchkin's
Munchkin
super-
Zombies, which is also pretty funny.
Yeah, and,
Yeah.
but zombies with 10 exclamation points.
Mm-hmm.
Super fun game. It's just tile based game, much like was it
Castle Ravenloft.
Castle Ravenloft,
Devil
and
Ravenloft was good.
other games like that. But
Or
the
old school Hero Quest.
old school Hero Quest. It's just a fun little game. I like the old gameplay mechanics. Just stick with that. Don't have to do anything special with it.
Yeah. See, that's the thing. That's like most games that I enjoy the most. Like with Pathfinder, the rules look a little difficult to pick up, but once you get it, it's not hard. And
Yeah.
I just because I've read the stuff, it's like when stuff goes down, they usually ask me for help because I know the rules backwards and forwards because I've read the books. And I've been playing for so long, but it's just something that you pick up, and it's kind of like with Firefly, we all picked it up, really quick.
We're down to the nitty gritty.
Mm-hmm.
We've got Warcraft Hearthstone, Pathfinder, Munchkin, Cards Against Humanity, World of Darkness, and Firefly tabletop game. What wins the Rusty?
Now this is an all inclusive group or just
out of those 7.
out of those 7.
Because really, we were going to shoot for 5, and
Yeah,
frankly,
top 5.
I really think that Munchkin is pretty old.
Munchkin's old, and all they do is it's
I think
the same cards, just different art and a little bit of different rules. So I can't give it to Munchkin, but it's fun and it's quick. It's good.
Yeah,
Yeah,
so
that was what I was going to suggest. That Munchkin is one that we can toss out.
Yeah, Munchkin's one we can toss out, and I don't know. Hearthstone is really, really well put together.
Yep.
And I was pleasantly surprised. I haven't played it, but I've read a lot of positive things about it.
It is super fascinating. Like, even just watching other people play, it's one of those where you can understand everything that's happening as it's happening and not have to be a pro to
I think I'd
really
like
appreciate.
it a lot if I got into it, specifically because I love Warcraft so much.
Yeah.
Which is what I've been thinking about doing for it. Is there a mobile app for Hearthstone?
Not yet, but it's coming. iPhone, iPad, and Android.
That's... I don't know.
It's coming.
it's going to get that
They've got it
support.
in-house. They've already got it working in-house, and Blizzard employees are playing it.
So basically, right now we've got Munchkin out. That leaves Hearthstone, Pathfinder, Cards Against Humanity, the World of Darkness. So I think with World of Darkness and Pathfinder, you really need to pick one of those.
I'm going to go with Pathfinder. I've logged more hours and...
Because they are similar.
Yeah.
Because you're basically picking a giant skill set.
The World of Darkness is a set of game titles, but
Right.
the Pathfinder is a standalone game itself.
Yeah.
All right, so World of Darkness out because it really is too broad. So that leaves our official top 5: Warcraft, Hearthstone, Pathfinder, the rule set, Cards Against Humanity,
Firefly the board game.
and Firefly the board game.
I would be really happy with either Firefly the board game, Cards Against Humanity, or Hearthstone.
Well, yeah, I can understand that because
Hearthstone.
you've not really experienced Pathfinder the way I have.
Yeah.
I mean, I've been playing D&D and tabletop games since I was
Yeah, you're
13,
much more
so
into that
That's
stuff than I am.
my thing. But as an all-inclusive group, as a game I can buy once and only buy once and pick up, I would have to give this to the Firefly the board game.
I'm perfectly fine with
Because
that.
Hearthstone is something you got to get into, and
Because I've followed the Firefly board game for a while as well, and it's intrigued me. I haven't got to play it yet. I'm sure I will in the future. But
you will in the future if I would have been a little more self-inclusive. If we weren't sitting down and doing all this special edition stuff for the thing, I would have brought it today.
Yeah, I was going to say, we actually technically could have done that during what we're doing later.
Yeah.
Because what we're going to be doing later, we're going to be doing some of this.
Yeah.
It doesn't.
And we're going to be doing the thing with the zombies later. So
Nothing says that I can't.
you can have someone bring it later.
Actually, she's not feeling well today. Stacey's not doing good, but I can always run home.
Oh. Well,
Yeah, I was
we'll talk about that later.
Yeah.
We'll plan. We'll scheme.
We'll get it figured
We'll
out.
scheme about it later, but I think you guys would like it. I can always run home and pick it up because it's definitely worth it.
All right, so let's decide on a final order. Are we going to do Firefly number 1?
I'm going to go for Firefly. We'll take it this year.
All right, what do we want in the number 2 slot?
Number 2...
Are we even going to do first?
Yeah, we might as well.
I really don't.
We'll do a top. We'll do a first.
We're going to do top 3. Period.
Yeah, we'll do
everything.
We could do.
Just 1, 2, 3.
It's the good format. Gold,
Okay.
bronze, and silver. So
Yeah.
the main game that will take it. This for me is
Firefly.
is Firefly the game.
Okay.
And I'm going to say we'll back that up with Hearthstone as the second choice because you were really strong about that.
Yeah,
I've been really interested in it.
I would love to see that in second place. That's very good.
I've followed it since it was suggested. I just don't have the disposable capital to play the way I want.
Yeah.
So
and it's perfect. It works perfectly well if you spend no money. I have spent no actual money on it, and I have tons of awesome cards. And I can go into the arena and randomly choose any card that like they give you random cards out of the entire pool.
Is it like the other collectible card game they had where it goes by raids?
No.
Okay, that might interest me more.
It's way different than that.
All right, so that really just leaves because I think we eliminated one too many at this point.
Yeah, I'm gonna go Firefly, Hearthstone, and I'm gonna back the last one up. I'm gonna say Pathfinder.
Pathfinder? Okay.
All right.
It's so broad.
Yeah,
it
you've spent so much time with that
so
this
much time with
All right, so our Rusty goes to Firefly, the tabletop game.
Huzzah!
And
Congrats,
runner-up
Firefly.
is-
Congrats, Wheaton. You've racked up something amazing again.
Runner-up is Warcraft, Hearthstone, and number 3 is Pathfinder. It gets
Excellent.
raw.
Yeah, it's a good lineup. I thought it was really strong.
Congratulations, everybody. Excellent games this year. In this
Wonderful
category.
input, Marquise.
He is a sleeping bear. All right, everyone. Thanks for joining us here. This was the tabletop and collectible card game edition of the award show. So stay tuned. Next up, we'll have the comic book edition. If we can wake up our...
Well, that's if we're posting them in this order. Is this the order we're posting them in?
Yeah, I'd say yeah.
I planned on doing
Okay.
that.
Yeah.
'Cause
All right.
I'm recording them in this order and
All right.
posting them in this
Sounds
order,
great.
so-
Sounds good to me.
You're like...
Next
Yeah.
up will be comic books.
I planned on doing it that way.
Yep.
Excellent.
And we're out.
Radical!
Yeah.